Welcome to Teens Time Out, the program where we celebrate the unique experiences of teenage life, explore the challenges and opportunities that define adolescence, and dive into the conversations that matter most to teenagers, families, and communities. Well, we are open for advert placements, news and events coverage, personality, society, and political interviews, products and service promotion, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Attractive Television Network on Instagram and TikTok, on Attractive TV Network, on Twitter on Attractive TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.attractive.net.work.tv. Well, joining us today is our favorite and one of our regulars. She's actually been here with us on the studio to discuss most of the challenges that teenagers have been facing. She is no other than Andre Polycarp. It's a pleasure to have you here with us again.
Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Thank you. You actually look good.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, there. Thank you for joining us. Well, for the first story for today, parents' favoritism, how it affects teenagers on bringing the self-worth, and how it affects siblings' relationships. The second is on sexual grooming, impact on victims, how to prevent sexual grooming. And the last is menstrual health, period poverty, how it affects the well-being of teenagers, the limitations involved, the roles communities, society can play to eradicate it. When parents favor one child, it means they demonstratively show more affection, attention, or preferential treatment towards one child over the other children, often leading to feelings of resentment and jealousy among siblings, and potentially impacting the child. And you know the strength and the weakness of this particular child. You know, don't you think that will kill the self-esteem of the one that is barely trying to do better than the rest of them?
In lots of cases, it does. It ruins the child's self-confidence and the child's self-esteem, and it causes that child to feel unloved, unheard, unnoticed. It causes that child to be drained emotionally and mentally. So it really does affect the children.
In a home where the male child gets more love than the females, does it affect siblings' relationship? If we often notice most times, especially in an African home, where yes, they say the man takes after the father when the father is no longer there. You know, it's sometimes a cause for concern, because oftentimes we've had interaction with few people. You hear someone say after the death of a particular parent in the home, they say every of the wealth is willed to the male child. You know, and this starts from the upbringing. It goes on and on from there, and then you know sometimes you notice some parents who say education is for the boys and not the girls. You know, do you think if the female notices that this particular affection is centered just on my brother, do you think that affects the sibling relationships?
Yes, it really puts a strain on the relationship that the both of them have, or that the female and the male children have. It makes the female children actually feel less important, and it causes their relationship to be thinned. There is no longer a very close bond between them. They know where they stand. They know that if there's a situation where something happens, they won't side with us, they'll side with him. So this relationship is going to be really strained.
And do you think it's a continuous process? It's that something that gets into adulthood?
Yes. When you groom a child in a particular way, the child grows with that he's being trained with, and then he grows, and he also teaches his own children with that particular pattern. So yes, they grow with that. They grow with being preferred to the females. They grow with knowing that they are men and they can do what they like. Yes, they actually
when we look at the self-esteem aspect, how it affects the self-esteem of the particular teenager that is more not preferred or not loved, that feels less loved than the rest, how do you think that affects the lifestyle of the teenager when he or she turns to be a man or an adult in the future?
Okay, so in most cases of children who weren't given that preferential treatment, or they were in a home where their siblings were giving more attention that they were giving, they tend to grow up wanting to make their opinions heard by force. They tend to grow up wanting to impose what they want.
Okay.
Most people grow up very determined to show their parents that they are better than their siblings. They grow up with a lot
because
of
they did not
strife.
get the opportunity
Yes.
to actually show up, get to show who they actually are.
They grow up with a lot of strife, a lot of anger, resentment. Their whole objective for growing is just to show that they are way better than their siblings.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you think this can be corrected, especially like I stated, in an African home where this could be a factor in a home where there could be sometimes there could be a situation where the mother will like this particular set of siblings, this particular set of kids, and the father will like this particular set. So it's more like there's this two rivalry going on in the house. And let's say the mom wants to discipline that father's favorite, and the father will scold, don't touch my child. Don't touch him, don't touch her, that kind of thing. I think you actually get to share your personal experience here. But in that kind of instance, do you think that there's a situation that it affects the home as time goes on between the parents actually?
Well, mostly yes, because let's say the father's favorite, if something occurs, they can't really lean or confide in their mother because they have a particular mindset towards each parent, which may not in most situations not be right or not be healthy. It tends to cause a lot of rivalry, and so to correct it, the parents need to sit down and probably talk to resolve it, to be able to give each child equal treatment. Nobody is better than the other. To give equal encouragement and advice to each of the children, to make sure that everybody feels loved and cared for.
Okay. If I told you I was going to ask you a personal question, have you actually been in that situation where you feel like you're more loved or you're less loved in the home?
Yes.
Okay, well, which one was it? Was it that you were more loved or you were less loved?
This morning, my younger sister, she had poured something and she did not want to clean it up. And I was asking her, come and pack it up. And then my mom just came out, don't touch my child, leave her alone, we should not do this later on. And she had just left it like that, lying. And then
she could actually be the last child.
Yeah,
so sometimes it could be, it can be the other way around, that there's this special love for the last children in the home. So that kind of situation, like growing up, I know I've actually had an experience that I'm the first child. Oftentimes when I'm doing the house chores and I'm like, my sister come and join me, I'll tell her to join. My dad will be like, leave her, do your own and let her do hers later. Oftentimes I'll be like, oh no, let me just do it because I cannot wait her to do it when she's ready at her time. I always want to do it. I always want everything to be done at that time, and it just somehow, and it might not be like like we stated, sometimes it could be unintentional to the parents. They will not know that indirectly there's this kind of love they have shown to a particular child, and it grows. Like you said, resentment can actually come up, and then there could be the tiny sibling rivalry that goes on with it. Even in the academic sector, you notice that the academic aspects, you notice that this particular child, the parents notice that, oh, this one is really doing well, this one is very smart. They pay more attention. When it's school fees time, they pay this particular one school fees first before every other aspect, every other child. It's just, a backlash and all of that's going on in the home. But if we have to send out a message out to the parents out there, what do you think you can say from your point of view as a teenager, how they can rightly handle this parent favoritism amongst their children?
I will simply say every child is unique and every child is special. Every child has their strengths and their weaknesses, just like how every parent have their strengths and their weaknesses. You do not compare children. Like, oh, see what your sibling is doing. Why can't you be as good as her? Why can't you get straight A's like her? You have to know that every child has your strength, and you as a parent, you have a responsibility to find that strength and to groom that particular strength. You're not meant to compare the 2 or the 5 children.
Children,
You're not
yes.
meant to compare them with
Yeah.
anybody at all. You're meant to give them a space. You're meant to encourage them and help in the little way you can. Be able to groom that child in the best of their ability.
Thank you so much in that, Andre. Well, moving forward, this is on sexual grooming. It's when a sexual predator builds a relationship with a child or adult to abuse and exploit them. They build trust but use it to control, isolate, and abuse their victims emotionally, physically, and sexually. A groomer oftentimes come across as charming, helpful, and kind at first. It can be easy to trust them and lower your guard, but they often use threats, violence, or other coercion to force you into sexual activity you don't want. They target underage children or vulnerable teenagers or adults. The impact it has on victims. Grooming has devastating impacts on victims by damaging their sense of self, eroding their ability to trust others, and severely impacting mental health. Children who are groomed may feel they are to blame for their abuse and have difficulty placing blame on the perpetrator. Survivors may perceive aspects of human connection as threat cues and thus may find it difficult to fully engage mentally with simple positive interactions such as affirmative or compliments. Let me ask you firstly, have you or someone you know experienced sexual grooming?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all ears. I would love
So
to know.
it was a situation with an older person that will not name or that kind of stuff, but
Okay.
he would always say, "Won't you come and greet me? Won't you come and hug me?" Forcing that ideology of an elder. There's a certain respect to give to an elder.
Yes.
And he'll do it to my friends and I, and he'll ask, "Oh, come and hug me." And at that point, he would always make it look like we were very disrespectful to him. He would go to other of his peers and be like, "They're very disrespectful," trying to coerce us into.
At that time, why did you think that this person was actually going to be a sexual groomer at the time? Was there any kind of an indirect attraction or indirect statement that was made from that person?
I don't really think so, but
Okay.
the actions
Okay.
and the statements he had
Okay.
made me personally feel very uncomfortable. So once he said that, I'll just completely tell him bluntly no, and I'll move away. So I'll tell him, and I'll warn my friends about it. So by that action, we had completely moved ourselves from that situation,
Okay.
and he had moved on to his next group of victims.
So, okay, so he moves it on to the next group of victims. So this was more like a planned stuff that he actually had. This is just a personality trait that this particular person had.
I really don't know, but I didn't like the action he had. Yes.
Yes, he displayed. Well, the other person, you said yes. Does it mean that you were the one that was about to be groomed, or you know somebody else that was groomed, or sexually groomed, or almost sexually groomed? Because let's give a background study here about a situation. Let's give a situation that a young girl, in her 16 years old, a teenager, meets this uncle that is probably in his late 30s or probably in his early 40s, and he's someone, probably a neighbor that lives down the streets and sees this teenager going to school every day, and he comes with, "Oh, I admire you, you're very hardworking. I see how you go to school early. I see how you take care of your siblings, sell in your mom's store." Let's say the mom has a store that she goes to sell after school, like help the mom to make sales after school. "I see how hardworking you are. I just want to appreciate your efforts," and gives this 16-year-old a certain amount of money for indirectly appreciating this teenager for working hard. And it continues, and once in a while he drives past, "Hello, how are you? Uncle, good evening," and it just continues like that. On her birthday, she might just somehow, the parents might just say, let's say he stops by to buy something, and the parent says, "Oh, my daughter's birthday is actually next tomorrow," and he takes it upon himself to buy her a gift. And it continues, "I'm writing WAEC. Oh, let me pay for her WAEC form. She's about to write jam. Don't worry, I'll pay for it." it starts like that. That's just how it starts gradually. Oftentimes you may feel, oh, this person maybe just like me. Because he's older than me, he will not have any intent of wanting to come sexually towards me. But that's oftentimes that's how it starts. Let's not get it wrong that God can just decide to send somebody to be of help. But the particular aspect we're looking at is when they come with intent of coming in this aspect, like, let me gain this ground first. Let me, get to buy her.
Get her trust.
To get her trust, let me get her trust first and let her know that this is not, I don't want to start that violently and tell her straightforward that, oh, this is what I want to do with you. That's how it starts. And oftentimes it could get to a point where, let's give an instance that it gets to a point he could say, come and help me clean. I cooked, I brought food. It just continues like that. And to an extent, you notice that this teenager might, at some point, have a little atom of likeness because this uncle gifts me things unconsciously all the time. Even when I don't ask, he comes to the store, okay, give her this one, you take this one. Oftentimes you might get to share money to everybody. And then women, girls, young girls, there's this thing of, this uncle likes to give, this uncle likes me, this uncle likes to take care of me. And in most cases they are not bloodly related. You notice that because sometimes it could come from a blood relative. There have been cases of rape where a particular teenager has been raped by a close relative, an uncle or cousin or a third cousin. It just comes like that. But let's say this person is not bloodly related to this teenager, and to an extent it's easy to penetrate, like you said, gain the trust of that teenager, and it just continues like that. And it could get to a point that this particular teenager was unaware, developed that love, unknowing love towards this person, and that's how it continues. And you find out that that teenager confides in this person. When the mom does something wrong, she confides in this person. When her phone gets taken away, let's say she doesn't have a phone and he buys her a phone, or she doesn't have certain amount of money, she confides in him, and that's how it grows. And most of the ladies right now have been victims of that, and they just didn't know that they were. But so it's okay if we get to come to that extent where we get to enlighten them and tell them, oh, this is what is going on. If you find yourself in this situation and it's not, given that this person is genuinely helpful, then you have to drift apart. So that's just like a background check about situations like that. Well, let me get to ask you, what action can that particular teenager take to prevent herself from being groomed? Let's say it gets to that point where that kind of situation has happened.
Can I give a story? So
yeah, sure, okay. You can.
So it happened of recent where a friend of mine had been in that kind of situation. The person, so to say, was close to her family, was close to her older brother, and he had been given advantage. Oh, come and help me clean, help me cook, that sort of thing. So it had got to a point where she had refused to go over to his house, and when something happens, he would try to pin it on her or force it on her. He had started draining her mentally and emotionally, and had just...
How did he pin it? How did he pin things on her?
We were writing a particular exam.
Okay.
And in the exam hall, he was actually an invigilator. And so when we got there, he would seize her pen, he would seize her calculator, he would ask her to stand up, he would ask her... He would just prevent her from
just
eating.
Because she
refused those come over, that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, at the end of that exam, she was really, really drained. She was always crying. She was always feeling bad. And I just told her, just go and report. Tell your parents. Let us see their reaction first. Don't just assume that they will always support him because of what he's doing. Just go and report first. And after she had reported, it's so that her parents did not know anything about it, and they took serious action against the particular person.
Okay.
So, first of all, you have to go and report it. If you don't have parents, maybe report it to the police at least. Go to someone that you know that can take serious action against this particular matter. And then distance yourself completely from that person. Tell the person no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and completely distance yourself
Yes.
away from that particular situation,
Okay.
so as not to force yourself into it unknowingly or knowingly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Andre, on that. That was actually an intelligent one. Let's look at the third question from the angle of peer pressure. How do you navigate saving your friendship or integrity from being groomed? Let's give this to scenario. You talked about this friend, and let's say to an extent that this friend accepted this affection, this person from by to sexually groom her. She to an extent she accepted it and gave in into it. And let's say this person provides some financial help, and she's enjoying it, and you have integrity, and you do not like it. You do not like that kind of lifestyle, and this person is a close friend of yours, and she tells you, see, Andre, this person takes care of me. I don't take money from my parents. I don't ask my parents for money. Anything I want, he provides for me. He pays my for now. He pays my school fees. So an extent, there's some parents that will just be reluctant not to pay school fees. I'm just giving an instance. Or he buys me this on my birthday. He gifted me this, and he has a friend that I would like you to meet that's also like him. And then let's say you have that integrity that you're like, no, I cannot do that because that was not how I was trained. My parents did not train me up to do this kind of thing. That is on one side. And then the other aspect where you give in to this. What are the implications? Let's look at the first implication of you're giving in to this peer pressure of wanting to save your friendship because you don't want to lose this friend. How do you think that can affect you as a person, by bowing into that peer pressure by allowing yourself to be sexually groomed?
Because it was not from my mind or my heart, and it was because just wanting to save the relationship. It will really damage mentally and emotionally.
Okay.
It will really prevent myself from having future friendships, supposing that friendship had ended in a particular way. It prevents me from having future friendships or to trust anybody at that.
Okay, let's say you actually get into that peer pressure and then enjoy it. What if you get into that peer pressure and you're enjoying the flow with this friend that's just because you want to save your friendship? Okay, are you coming from the angle that, let's say you give into that and then it did not turn out the way you want? Do you understand my question?
Yes.
Like, let's say now she tells you all of these things. Let's say he gets her the latest iPhone and tells you, see, this phone you're using is out of date. You need to update. You need to follow the trend. This person has actually done this and we have not done anything. Because oftentimes they come with something like that. So he has not touched me. It happens. This groomers, this sexual groomer friend, the friends actually wear each other and him. And you will get times two of what I'm getting. And you'll notice that, oh, this friend is the only person I talk to in school. This is the only friend I have close to me that I can confide certain things with, because she actually decided to confide in you with that. And you give it out of your integrity, you give into that peer pressure. How do you think that affects you?
If the person enjoys it, let's say you actually really got out of it, you actually really enjoyed it, it's going to cause the person to keep on doing more.
Okay.
But later on in the long run, it causes some emotional and mental damage. Possibly the person may grow up, let's say a female grow up, and the person may not even be able to get married or settle down or have stable relationships because of what the person had already gone through. And let's say it didn't turn out how he or she had planned for it to turn out. It causes a lot of anxiety, depression, causing the person to be so unsure of he or herself, and it makes the person just go through a lot of trauma. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the anxiety. The integrity part, where you're like, no, I stand by my word. I will not want to be violated, and that means I am too young to be in this kind of lifestyle. Do you think there's any benefits in living towards that? Ignoring your friendship with this particular person just because you want to save your integrity. How do we navigate towards that?
I feel like saying no is really the best answer.
Okay.
Because I get that peer pressure can be a lot, and a lot of people fall victim to being peer pressured. And just saying no, in the beginning it may feel like it was the wrong answer. You could have been enjoying a whole lot more. But just saying no, it has a lot of confidence that it gives you, that you are worth more than this. You know that growing up in life, you have a lot more to navigate through. And you know that you have the confidence in yourself to make the right decisions.
Okay.
Because at the beginning, it may seem like it's the best decision, but in the long run, it has a lot of negative aspects to it. So just saying no.
Well, what are
really
the negative aspects do you think gets involved there?
of saying yes?
Yes, of saying yes.
Let's say unwanted pregnancy.
Okay.
Let's say dropping out of school. You are stigmatized because it may get out and then it's like, oh, she does this with older men, that kind of thing. It may get out and you are stigmatized. It can bring shame to your family if your family was not aware of it. It depends on the family. It may bring a lot of, and when you're stigmatized, it affects emotionally and it affects mentally, and it may just bring a lot of uncertainty into the person's life. It may really damage that person's future because nobody knows what the future holds,
Yeah,
and
true.
it may just destroy that person's future. And yes.
Okay, thank you on that. Well, let me ask you this. The mothers, they say in an African home, mothers are not just African home, but in Africa, we have ideology about life. We have our culture, our norms, and our values. And they say the woman is a home builder. And there are certain families that the parents are not available. I wanted to, ask you in terms where you, like you stated, when you don't have parents to talk to. What if you have the parents and there's nobody to talk to? It's just like a kind of situation. There is extent where at that time you need somebody to talk to. Or let's say at the scenario I gave, the mother is not aware and she did not want to tell the mom. And it gets to a point where this particular man is saying, come to the house, and it's getting out of hand. And there is nobody to confide in. There is no parents they can tell. How do you think that can also affect a teenager's life?
I feel like that could cause a lot of depression. If you just have always seen a lot about mental health, it can cause a lot of depression. Honestly, because you have nobody to confide in. But I feel like even in that situation, let's say the person goes to school, you should have a counselor in school or a principal that you can just report to, or you can tell. You can find maybe a religious setting. I'm a Christian, a religious setting. You can go to your church and you can tell your pastor.
Okay.
I believe with other religious backgrounds, you have someone that you can talk to. And when you just tell that person, you know that there's someone there that can stand up for you and can support you in that particular thing.
Okay, so it's no longer an excuse that my parents are not there to listen to me. Nobody is there for me to talk to. I cannot confide in my parents. There are other people out there that you can actually confide in. Thank you so much in that. Well, we have to move forward. This one is on menstrual health and period poverty. Menstrual health is a global issue that often goes undiscussed. Economic challenges associated with menstruation can profoundly affect an individual's life, leading to missed opportunities and risks that exacerbate inequality. When we talk about period poverty, it is when people can't afford menstrual products or don't have the education and support they need to manage their periods safely. There are certain limitations against this and limited funding for free products. Governments and schools may lack the budgets to provide free menstrual products, leaving many without essential supplies. There are another limitation could be taboos and shame around menstruation. Many societies still view periods as dirty or shameful, discouraging of an open discussion. While progress is being made in addressing menstrual inequity, these limitations slow down change. Overcoming them requires policy reform, education, community engagement, and sustainable solutions. Then we look at how can it be eradicated. Eradicating menstrual inequality and period poverty requires a multi-level approach involving governments, schools, businesses, communities, and individuals. Let me ask, I know you're a woman, and to an extent you should have been up to the age of seeing your menstrual period. And it's not just ladies that undergo menstrual puberty stage. It's on the both side, the male and the female, sides of teenagers. And I will give my personal experience. The first time I actually got the experience of getting to be into that situation, I did not know what to do, because at the time my mom was late, so it was just out of place, and I felt like, how can I go and talk to my father about this? It's just somehow I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know there was anything like a pad, a tampon, or something. And it was just, I just could not. I did feel like there was someone I could tell about this, and that the person would give me. And so I literally did an unhygienic ways to control that. At some point, it affected me, and it was not just a good one, and we look at certain times that when we talk about menstrual health and the period poverty, oftentimes it's not like the products are not available. It's just the enlightenment, it's just the education for a teenager to know that when you're in this situation, you need to speak up. You need to tell somebody. You need to talk to your parents. You need to talk to your mom or your dad. Because these days, parents are barely at home to notice all of that. In particular, let's say a mom or a dad, anybody can notice and say, oh, my child is going towards puberty stage. Have you started seeing your period? But I would love to get your thoughts on this. I would love to get your knowledge about this while we discuss about this. This situation of menstrual health. What is your thoughts on this?
Menstrual health is a very important topic, often overlooked by lots of people, because when your menstrual health is not well taken care of, it can cause a lot of infection, lots of side effects, which are not healthy for the body. And I recently heard that some traditions find it very unclean, ask the ladies to sleep outside when on their period, that sort of thing. And all those little stigmas can cause a lot of damage to the female that is going through that.
True.
So I feel like menstrual health should be really talked about in schools, in organizations. It should really be sensitized among youth, both male and female, because the guys will grow up, the guys will have wives, they will
Yes,
have daughters.
yes.
So it should be really talked about with both genders, and it should really be sensitized.
So how about communities? How about communities that they like you said, the communities that they find this as a taboo, out of place kind of thing? How do you think the growing teenagers can, get out of that? How do you think they can put them in place?
I feel like the government should really put in more effort.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of organizations supporting the girl child and the females. So the government should put in place to sensitize these communities that find this as a taboo, to tell them what it really is, to explain to them what it really is to give, because maybe they may not have that right products available, to provide for them these products, to tell them how to use it, to be able to make it available in the communities, in the schools, or in the surrounding areas.
Okay. I'll also give a quick background check of there's this story I had. It's actually a real one, and this particular girl confided in her friend, and she said, "I have painful menstrual pain, a painful menstrual experience, and it always disturbs me." And then the friend said, "You have to do it. You know what it means to do it. You have to see somebody. Somebody did it for me. So until the pain stops. So you can follow me, and there's somebody else that'll do for you. That'll do it on you. So you can the pains can stop. That kind of situation. There's still so much that the parents need to teach their children. And I heard about this other one of this particular parents that's a father, that the child was going through her menstrual pain, and he was the one that actually conducted the stuff. Like, he took care of her. He checked her, and then took care of her, cleaned her, and all of that stuff. You know, so it's something that parents, both parents, should actually come into, put heads together and educate the female folks, the growing teenagers that go through that situation, to know that when you are in this state, come to me, I am always there. And they should also educate them about sex and all of that. Like, it should not be a taboo. It should not be something that is out of place. Imagine this girl telling her friend, because the girl would actually not want to confide in her parents. Why would you not want to confide in your parents that you're having painful menstrual experience? Why would you confide in your friend? And then the friend gives her a bad advice and tell her, don't worry, somebody will do something on you. Somebody is going to do something on you, and once it's done on you, you'll stop feeling the pain. You'll not feel that pain again. Imagine such advice, you know. So it just calls for parents to get involved in the lives of their children and know that, yes, this is a natural thing. If it wasn't, I experienced it. It's something I went through. If it wasn't, you will not experience. I went through it. This was how I handled it, and let me pull you through. And oftentimes, some families, they'll say it's a woman's work to do that. It's not just the woman. They are, like I said, the father, that when the girl is undergoing her menstrual period, he takes care of her. He gets her the pad. He bathes her, because there are certain women where our body systems are different. That will they have different experiences. You know, that they cannot, you know how to go about it. But this father took it upon himself to do everything necessary. He did not wait for the woman. It's not everything that the woman should do. You can have your female child and tell her, my daughter, as a father, let me educate you on this. This is what you do. This is what you do, and all of that. Well, before we round up, I would love to get your final verdict on this issue of this menstrual health and then the period poverty. You know, how it has also affected the life of growing teenagers.
Okay, so I recently looked up some recent cases where the children, the young teenagers, did not have adequate um, pads, tampons to use,
Okay.
and they'll end up using dirty rags. They end up just staying. Some will not bathe for days until it finishes, so they can just bathe at once. And all those different practices are very unhealthy. That's like what I said earlier, that both the male and female should be educated on it, because when both the male and female like understand what is going on, they both know what to do, what not to do at that particular time. Parents should take it upon themselves to be very free, or to have time for their children or their growing children, so they can be able to guide them through these certain difficult situations of their life, so they don't just feel alone. Schools should have counselors, guidance counselors. Not every school has counselors, but the schools should take it upon themselves to have, so that these children, these teenagers, can have someone to confide in, just in case their parents are too busy or their parents are not around for them during this time.
So these counselors, yeah, what they are supposed to educate them about the implication of not using healthy materials. And there are also times that there's this stigma. I don't know if you got into a point where you did not want to go to school. Let's say you had an experience where you were stained, depend on the school uniform you wore, and then everybody notices it, and it's quite embarrassing sometimes. And then the particular teenager will feel like, no, I don't want anybody, I don't want to go to school until 1 week when it's out of everybody's head. The school should also come to times to educate them and tell them it is normal. It's a normal scenario. It's not something you should be afraid of or feel like you're one different kind of person. It's a natural thing that God has actually put in everybody's body, every woman's body, to experience. You know, if we talk about the male folks quickly, what do you think parents have to do in that situation of puberty grooming in the male folks?
I have experienced, or I have noticed that in African homes, because I'm from an African home, but in African homes, the grooming of the male children are often overlooked. All the attention is focused on the female children, how to act, how to do everything, that the guys just grow up and are free. A girl cannot leave her house once she's 7 or 6, but you can call one of your male friends that you can notice that they're at home, they're outside by 10 o'clock in the night, and you're like, what are you still doing now?
Okay.
They can do whatever they like because the grooming is often overlooked. So I feel like in homes, the grooming of the male child should be put into more consideration.
Okay.
You know, to get more better men that are growing up in this generation.
Yeah, there's something that I'm talking about. I'm also want to know about the, let's say women, we have menstrual periods, menstrual experiences. Men have what they call the wet dreams. Yes, that's which they experience on the male counterparts. You know, in that aspect, what do you think parents should do? You know, it's not supposed to be only, like you stated, it's not supposed to be one-sided, educating young girls, young teenagers about taking care of their bodies when they're in their puberty stage. But on the male counterparts, when in their puberty stage, what do you think parents should also educate them on about their body changes?
The sit down and talks with the female teens or kids should also be likewise to the males. The same way we have home economics and biology and talk about the menstrual cycle, it should also be talked about likewise about the males. It should also be educated and enlightened about it. Their parents should also sit down and talk to them and sensitize them about their own body. So they are well aware of what to do, of what not to do, of what they're experiencing.
Okay. Thank you so much on this, Andre. This was actually an amazing time I had with you. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is where we wrap it up.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. This is where we wrap it up on this episode of Teens Time Out. Thank you so much for joining us. We are also still open for adult placements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product, service, promotion and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Attractive Television Network on Instagram and TikTok, on Attractive TV Network on Twitter and Attractive TV Net. You can our website at www.attractive.net. Work the TV. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you so much for watching. I am Chidima Wadike.